across the globe. This is a special edition of Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the proposed Monrovia Stock Exchange. And with me is my co-host and also a guest, and who's Mr. Alex Jones. Mr. Jones, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Jones?
Can you hear me?
Right, I can hear you,
It's
but
a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And, can you hear me clearly? Is it
right,
better?
I can hear you clearly now. And we just lost our...
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Good. Mr. Jones is Mr. Jones is guest on our economic forum, which is every Wednesday at 7 p.m. He always joins us with Dr. George P. Lobo to discuss Liberia economic, business, and finance. So our guest is in Monrovia. He's joining us from Monrovia, so there are some technical issues. But let's start the discussion because this is about Monrovia Stock Exchange. So Mr. Jones, who's the financial consultant, he's been working in finance for quite a long time. So let's start the discussion by just basic definition. Stock exchange as a whole, the stock market, what is it?
Well, a stock market is like any other market, like a grocery store or a dealership. The only difference is the stock market, instead of selling cars or selling food or milk or whatever, you sell pieces of other companies, whether it's JP Morgan, Bank of New York, GE, capital about their businesses. And in order to do that, they need a place where they can go to be able to get money from the public. And that is what is known as a stock market in the most layman's definition.
So when we say stock exchange, what is a stock?
Well, a stock is what you consider to be an equity, meaning it's shares within a company. So instead of one person owning the entire company, they decide to share the company with a bunch of people. And the instrument they use is called stock. So it means it's just a term that's given to shareholders for ownership within a company or trust. It could be a real estate trust. It could be, a company. It can even be a bank. So a stock is just a definition given to an instrument that gives people ownership towards a business or corporation.
And Mr. Jones, if you have other things competing for your Wi-Fi, you can turn them off because your bandwidth is kind of low. So you can turn them off. We have Mr. Jackson from Monrovia. Mr. Jackson, once again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Mr. Jackson, let me know if you can hear me. Mr. Jones, as I was saying, if there are other things connected to your Wi-Fi, you can turn them off because your bandwidth is kind of going in and out.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson, can you hear me? All right. So, Mr. Jones, as we're still discussing why Mr. Jackson gets set, what is the two words we often hear together is stock and bonds. What are stocks? Okay, how is a stock different from bond?
So unlike stock is ownership and bond is debt. So the companies that need money, and instead of selling they issue
I
bonds.
can hear
What
this
it
thing. I
means
don't
is
know
it's
what's
a
going
certain
on with this
amount.
thing here, man.
They certain from investors with the promise to pay that money with interest over a period of time. And so the difference is one is a debt
Protests
instrument,
in this
while
country,
the other
man.
one is ownership, and equity or ownership within a company.
Okay. Mr. Jones, your internet is very unstable.
Okay.
If you
I
have other
can't.
devices,
I hear you.
They-
Oh,
Mr. Jackson, you can let the phone stay that way. That's fine. It can be vertical. It doesn't matter. We can still see you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, bear with us. We have some technical difficulty. We're going to soon mitigate the risk and have a very good show. Mr. Samuel P. Jackson from Monrovia, can you hear me? So, Mr. Jones, we can continue just on the basic of a stock exchange. So, people buy stock. Give me give me a real life example of someone buying stock and selling it. Trading on the market, and we have some indexes. Those things that mentioned. So, like Dow Jones say, "Oh, the stock market is up today, is lower." What all those things mean? Just break it down for us.
Okay, so a practical example would be like Uber. I'm sure everyone will come in Uber or Lyft, where some people got together and decided to set up a company, a corporation that will transport people using personal vehicle, their own personal vehicles. So they write a business plan and they go to a few people to raise capital. They get the initial capital and they start a business. But then they realize that they need more money. They need, tens of millions of dollars to build the infrastructure, to hire lawyers, to hire a call center, to build a call centers and things like that. And while they realize that the business will make money eventually, at that particular time, they don't have the money to meet their current expenditures. So what they do is they go to a bank, they go to an investment, you call an investment bank. So an example of that would be like JP Morgan or Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs. And they talk to some bankers, investment bankers, and they put up their information, their financials, and say, look, this is our vision. We want to be able to grow. We want to be able to expand our business and go into other markets. We need $5 billion. And so the banks goes and review their financials. And then if the financial looks good and the growth for the company looks good, the bank now starts to advise them on how they can go into the stock market. So the bank will work with them and tell them, look, this is how many shares you need. This is the price you need to sell the shares based on your current earnings or your projected earnings. And so the work is to take a year, 2 years, 3 years. And in the meantime, the company is operating. They're making revenue, in some cases profit, but not in most cases. So the investment works with the Security Exchange Commission, which is the regulatory body that monitors the stock exchanges in America. So when you hear stock exchange, it's not just one. And the other thing you need to keep in mind is not government, it's private. So you have the New York Stock Exchange, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. You have different small NASDAQ. So they go to these people and they file an application. But just in summary, the company now decides on a particular date to start selling some of the portion of the company to the public. And that is called our initial public offering. And that's the day upon which the stock now is available for you and I to purchase in our retirement, in our kids' educational fund, our savings, or you know, any investment instruments that can yield growth, future growth. So that's basically what the idea of a stock and a stock exchange, what it tries to accomplish, to raise capital by making a portion of the company available for.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the Monrovia Stock Exchange, or the proposed Monrovia Stock Exchange. Our guest is Mr. Sam P. Jackson from Monrovia. He's having technical difficulty joining us. My co-host is Mr. Alex Jones. He's breaking it down for us before we have Mr. Jackson join us. So one something always associated with the stock market, two things: Dow Jones, Standard and Poor, S&P. What's the relationship?
Well, they both are very similar. They're what you call an index. So in order for people to measure, like in management, you say you can manage what you can measure. So how do you know that the market is good? How do you know that it's a good time to invest? Or that the same thing for price of a used car. If someone is selling you a Mercedes Benz for $10,000, you know, if it's a, everyone will buy it. But the same Mercedes Benz, if it's a few years old and it's selling it for $75,000, a few people will want to buy it. So what a Dow Jones is an index that measures the stock market by using 30 of the largest U.S. companies. So these are your biggest, most profitable companies. And that those 30 companies from time to time will change. So for one point, you have Microsoft, or you have Xerox. Xerox is not point the most profitable or the most substantial American companies. And these companies are broken down into different sectors. So you have a few technology companies, you have oil companies like ExxonMobil, banks. So it's a good indication of what the entire stock market. So there's over what 4,000 different stocks. How do you measure each of them? You can. So the Dow Jones is saying if we took 30 of the largest companies and we see how the stock price do on a day-to-day basis, we'll be able to find out if the market is going up or down. The S&P is.
Once again, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the proposed Monrovia Stock Exchange. My guest, Samuel P. Jackson from Monrovia, is going to join us shortly. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, so the S&P, the Dow Jones, and there are other indexes beyond the S&P, the Dow Jones. There's the Nasdaq. There's S&P 100. So it's just a gauge. It's kind of like your grades. You know, if you have math, science, English, how do you know the student is good? You take an average of the courses that they're taking, all right? You divide it by the number of courses, and you find a price. I mean, you find a number, and go into the Dow Jones like 10,000, 30,000.
Alex, your connection is very, very horrible. Mr. Jackson, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me, Dennis?
Yes. What's going on with your connection?
I have no idea. Everything is closed.
That's why I'm saying if you have other things connected to your Wi-Fi, turn them off. If you have a smart TV, other cell phone, computer.
Okay, I'll try to take care of that. Maybe it'll be wise for me to just log back in. Okay.
So if you are an economist or financial person out there, I'm posting, and this is only for one person who we're going to ask question about the Monrovia Stock Exchange. Like Dr. Gompo, if you are on, I'm posting the number. You can join the discussion. This number is only for someone with the knowledge to discuss financial matters. Could be a financial consultant or an economist, or if you have an accountant who can help us break this down, I'm posting the number there for you. I see that. Okay, so Alex, you're here now.
Yes.
All right. So now, give me some examples of our stock markets in Africa, specifically West Africa, as we go down to the proposed Monrovia Stock Exchange.
So over the last, stock markets have been operating in Africa for a long time. Like you have like the Egyptian Stock Exchange, for example, was founded in 1883. You have the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, founded in 1887. The Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, 1948. So it's not a new concept. It's always been there. And but lately, there have been some new stock exchanges around Africa. You have the Zimbabwean Stock Exchange. It's called Africa's Digital Stock Exchange Limited. And that was just founded in 2018. You also have the Angola Stock Exchange, which does derivatives, which we may get into later, which is another form of stock. And that was founded in 2016. You have Somalia Stock Exchange, 2015. Seychelles, which is a very small country, 100,000 people about, and they started a stock exchange in 2012. Rwanda, that we hear so much about, that's doing so well, they have a stock exchange in 2008. So there's a number of the Libyan Stock Exchange, Cape Verde, Gabon, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana, Algeria, Namibia, Mauritius. So there's a lot of stock exchanges in Africa.
So you talk about a market. Is this a physical location? Is it on the internet? Where is it? Can I walk into a stock market?
Well, if you have the concept of going on to eBay or Amazon purchasing something, right? Then you can buy stock the same way. You can physically walk into a stock exchange and say, I want to buy 10 shares of Caterpillar, for instance. But what you do, you have to set up a brokerage account. You can do that online, and you can put your money in there. Maybe you say every year or every month or every paycheck, I want to buy 10 stocks of Facebook, for instance, or Twitter. So no, you can't physically. You have to be a licensed broker in order to trade stock at a stock exchange. It's a physical location, and it can be digital as well. But the public can get involved in it through online brokerage. And something you see Edward Jones or Charles Schwab. These are what you call dealer brokers, where they sometimes buy a lot of the shares and then they sell the shares to the customers. Or sometimes they just facilitate the trade between the customers and the exchange for a small commission.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, are you there?
Well, great. I had to get you guys on my computer because, strangely enough, my phone I bought it here in Liberia, and it was getting hot, and I had to turn it off. So yeah, I'm on my computer, and I think we are doing okay now. So I'm so sorry, Alex. I'm so sorry, Dennis. I'm very sorry. Those are the challenges that we have here in modern Africa, but that's okay.
All right.
Yeah, ça va venir. Okay, guys, I'm ready.
I hope the Monrovia Stock Exchange is going to solve these issues.
Well, I don't know if the Monrovia Stock Exchange is going to solve the issue, but I know one thing it's going to do is going to build capacity and understanding of what a capital market is. And I see my friend Alex has gone a lot into the explanation of the basis of a stock exchange. And I don't know how much she said, but I heard the last parts of it and was asking whether a stock exchange is a physical location. So I don't know how much I should go back to the.
Yeah, we'll come to you. Can you adjust your computer if that's a laptop so that we can see your face more? If you can bend it a little bit so we can see more of you.
What do you want me to do now? I don't understand. How do I?
No, is it a laptop?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a laptop.
Oh, right there. You can go back a little bit. Right there. Then we can see you. Even though it's a little dark, but we can manage.
Well, I mean, I'm living with a Tiger generator, so I'm so sorry.
Okay.
You won't be able to see my handsome face tonight.
I know you're a handsome man, so I mean we'll be missing out, but it's okay. We can manage with the voice.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
A little bit about Mr. Samuel P. Jackson. He was born in Monrovia, attended St. Patrick's High School, and was afforded an opportunity to complete high school in Greenville, Michigan, that's the USA. He earned an undergraduate degrees in banking, economics, and management from Pace University, Johnson and Wales University, and attended graduate school in Rhode Island, USA. In addition, Jackson earned a diploma in international economics and banking from the American Institute of Banking in 1979, and obtained a series of, I hope I called this right, 7/63 license as a financial consultant from the National Association of Securities Dealers. Mr. Jackson worked for many American financial institutions, including Chase Manhattan Bank, Wells Fargo Bank N.A., Security Pacific International, which merged into Bank of America, and the Northern Trust International Banking Corporation. He served in a number of positions in Liberia, including Deputy Comptroller at the Ministry of Finance, Director of Marketing at Price and Price Analysis at the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Transportation. Mr. Jackson was also Minister of State for Economic and Financial Affairs under President Charles G. Taylor, and he served as chief spokesman during the last days of the Liberian civil conflict. He also consulted with many international organizations, including the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, the Center for International Private Enterprise, and the International Finance Corporation, World Bank, and was senior economist to President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia during her tenure as co-chair to the UN high-level panel on the post-2015 Global Development Agenda that produced the Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. Jackson, once again, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, Jenna, and I continue to express my really, how very sorry I am due to the challenges that we are facing here in this great country. So we can get started.
All right. So you, before we even go far, I know I listed some things. You're working some high-profile position. Tell me a little bit about your career. I think this is going back to your days in the progressive movement.
Yes. Well, it's a long story, but I'm going to try to abbreviate.
Okay.
I was in the military briefly. I got sick and I got basically kicked out, given a medical leave. I came to Brooklyn in 1973 from Japan, and I started. I got a job as a clerk typist at Bank of America. Actually, it was Security Pacific International Bank. It was later bought by Bank of America. I was working in the teletype division, teletype section, where I was sending bank balances, in terms of, with correspondent banks all around the world. So I just sat there and I sent these telexes on a daily basis to the correspondent banks of Bank of America. At the time, Bank of America was the largest bank in the world. And they used to do something called a payment exchange, paper exchange payment system. And that paper exchange payment system, all it did was it was a check clearing system. So as a young boy, I also went to the Federal Reserve Bank at 33 Liberty Street, and I took the cash letter. Then later on, I started going to American Institute of Banking and then Pace University simultaneously, and started to advance within the bank. And then I went to the Trade Finance Division, And then from the trade finance division, I got a job at Chase Manhattan Bank. And then in 1976, after I graduated from came from undergraduate school, I decided to go to grad school. I went to Rhode Island. I spent 2 years there. And I came back to New York and went to work for Chase Manhattan again. And I became a 2 VP, second vice president. It sounds like a big job, but it's not a really big job. All is that if you're a senior level clerk in most banks, and you have to be an officer of the bank, a second vice president is only like a senior level clerk. So don't be too impressed. I was not an executive of Chase Manhattan Bank. I think that's one of the things that people, when I say I was a 2 VP at Chase Manhattan Bank at age 27, they think I was sitting in an executive boardroom. No, I was toiling in the back room in doing trade finance, or financing mostly grain shipments all over the world. At that time, the United States was a major grain shipper. It still is, but at that time it was mostly rice and sugar. So I was dealing with companies like Cornell Rice and Sugar. I was dealing with Continental Grain, and we were shipping all over the world. And that's how my career in trade finance started. So in 1979, I was recruited by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Actually, it was late 1978 when Ellen Sirleaf and Charles Green and John Bestman they were trying to get a $30 million Euro currency finance loan with Chase Manhattan Bank. And Chase, they basically like to show off their young, up and coming, so they introduced me. But I knew Ellen already from a long time. And they were so impressed with me being, second vice president at Chase Manhattan Bank. So they recruited me, and I made the greatest mistake of my career, my banking career, by coming to Liberia, to get involved in politics and all of that. You know what the story ended. April 14, I went to jail, and when I came out of jail after the Brownell Commission made asked for and granted us a general amnesty, Talbot rehired me as director of price and marketing at the Ministry of Commerce. I was working there until March 8th of 1980, when Bacchus Matthews asked for Talbot to resign. And then I was once again in prison. I had a young wife, and 3 young children at that time. I had been married, like I said, when I was 20 years old. I got married in 1974 and went to jail and was freed by Samuel Doe on April 12, 1980. And I was made deputy comptroller at the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Transportation. I worked there for a year. And then, of course, the whole thing about getting rid of the progressives. They got rid of us. Bacchus Matthews, myself, and all the progressives were kicked out because they didn't want anybody who had progressive or socialist leanings to work with the government. So I returned to the United States in early 1982. And then I went to work for a company called Drexel Burnham Lambert at 55 Broad Street, right opposite the New York Stock Exchange. That's how come I, working in the back room, I needed to get a Series 7, and I got a Series 7 in 6-3 to work in the back room. I was working with, in the bond room. There's a gentleman, I'm sure you can Google him, his name was Michael Milken, was the guy who originated the junk bond. And Michael Milken made a lot of money in 1982, and I just stayed with them, And then in 1985, I joined Credit Suisse, okay? They were right there on Water Street in New York. And from there, advanced to IDS American Express. And then that pretty much, after IDS American Express, that pretty much ended my investment banking and financial services career. I moved to Atlanta because of love. I got divorced, went to Atlanta because of love and started a cleaning company. And I did extremely well. I had a cleaning company. And, some people ask me, why didn't you go back into investment banking in Atlanta? But if you were in Atlanta about 30 years ago, you would know that it would almost be very, very difficult for a young black man from Africa to be in one of those big line companies. So I started my own company, did extremely well. Then in 1997, I came back to Liberia to help with the election efforts of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and we lost the election. And then I decided to look at Africa. So I got a job with a major investment bank, Investec in Southern Africa. And of course, you know the rest of the story. I have a beautiful daughter in Southern Africa. But I worked there for nearly almost 5 years. And in 2002, President Charles Taylor saw me in Monrovia and asked me to join his government. The war was coming. They had sanctions on, and he wanted me to help him with the effects of sanctions. So I was named Minister of State for Economic and Financial Affairs. And of course, you know the rest of the story. June 4th, he was indicted. We had the Accra Comprehensive Peace Agreement. And then, of course, I returned to Liberia. But I returned to Liberia with a lot of strength, because when I worked in South Africa, I had made a lot of friends and a lot of associates in the mineral industry. And that started a new career for me in the mineral industry. So I brought in a company called Global Infrastructure Holdings Limited to Liberia, a company out of Dubai owned by the younger brother of the guy who owned ArcelorMittal. His name is Prima Mittal. So we got the Lamco asset, and we were working the Lamco asset. We had done a lot of scoping studies. When Judy Bryant was coerced by the U.S. government to remove us and take our license away for several reasons. Number one, Lakshmi Mittal, the older brother, had more political and financial power. He was already the largest. He had already gotten to take over Arcelor, which is a French steel company. So that made him the largest steel company in the world. And he was operating out of, he had bought some small steel mills in the United States and around the world. And he told them that he wanted to get Liberian iron ore into Gary, Indiana. Okay. And that sold the Americans, and then they booted us out.
All right, let's fast forward to your work with President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and what you're doing now, especially with
I'm going to come to that.
The economic dialogue. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to come to that. So then, this is 2004 now, and so I joined a Liberian consulting company called Devon Corporation. You can check it out now, www.devoncorp.net. And this company was mostly involved in financial and economic consulting in Liberia. And I started working there, and we did a lot of work for USAID, did a lot of work for the International Finance Corporation. So that's how I began my new career in development economics. In 2008, when you had the global financial crisis, and the International Labour Organization sent a PhD to look at the impact of the financial crisis on Liberia. So the Liberian Chamber of Commerce had a conference, and my company, Devon Corporation, won the bid to do the conference report. So we did the conference report. You know, in 2008, there was limited capacity in the country. When I wrote that report, the UNDP and other international agencies in the country, they were so impressed. They said, "But who wrote this report?" And I got a lot of my writing skills from doing 10K prospectuses. You know, I'm sure Alex Jones knows what a 10K prospectus is. You know, from a fresh IPO, you have to do a prospectus. It's a lot of financial analysis. It's a lot of writing. You have to do a lot of writing, structure, syntax. And they were very much impressed. You know, of course, they were also impressed with the American idiom. So that's how I began my career in development economics. So I wrote that report, and then they asked me to write the Millennium Development Goals report, which I did. And then I started to write a lot of other development reports. And from then I started to do social impact plans. I started to do linkage plans for major companies. And from 2008, 2009, until I left Liberia in 2015, I was one of the premier consultants in social economy in Liberia. That's when my name started to go. Sam Jackson being a development company. I'm not a true development economist, but it's just by practice. Okay. So in 2012, the United Nations appointed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf as co-chair to the post-2015 development agenda. If you can recall, in the year 2000, 189 countries have gotten together and signed the Millennium Declaration and making the 8 Millennium Development Goals, which that in 15 years they wanted to reduce poverty, they wanted to do all those other things with education, gender parity, and we had all these indicators. So Ellen was appointed, and then the UNDP and other international agencies in the country said, well, the only guy we know who can participate at this level dealing with people like Jeffrey Sachs and Homi Karaj from Brooklyn and Samuel Jackson. So they appointed me as senior economist to the high level panel. And that's how come I worked with Ellen and was her senior economist for 2 years. And we produced the Sustainable Development Goals. I was the co-lead writer along with my colleague, Dr. Homi Karaj, Homikaras of the Brookings Institution. And we produced the Sustainable Development Goals. So if you look at a lot of the symbols, including the number one symbol there, which is the ending hunger, you'll see a bowl of rice. They wanted to do wheat, but I told them anyway. It's long story short. So that's how I got my association, my intensive cooperation with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And then of course I left Liberia in late 2015, went to the States, and then when I went to the hospital, I found out I had prostate cancer, and then of course my life took a major turn there, and then I started to write this book, the book that I wrote, A Rich Land, Poor Country, The Paradox of Poverty in Liberia, which I will go and get a copy shortly as you speak. I should have brought a copy with me, but I want to go home right now and bring a
We'll get to that later.
Okay, great.
I saw, and we'll come to the Monrovia Stock Exchange, but I saw a post that there's an economic dialogue that is currently going on in Monrovia, and I saw that you are connected to that. Tell me briefly, the purpose of it and what you're doing there.
Okay. Well, it's one of those things again. Like I always say, I don't ask to be involved, but they typically ask me. I came to Liberia in May of this year because I wanted to support the development efforts of the country, and I'm close to Samuel Twe. Samuel Twe and I worked together with the Sirleaf administration when I was economic advisor at the Ministry of Finance, and we also, while I was even sick, 2016, we worked on the review of the Agenda for Transformation, which is the Liberian Long-Term Visioning Plan, and we did that report. So I came to see what I could do to support my government through my friend Samuel Twe. So I wanted to basically look at what was happening with the macroeconomy, and of course, all the challenges, the high inflation because of the infusion of $18.151 billion into the Liberian economy from the period of 2016 to 2018. You also know that with the oil mill drawdown, consumption went down significantly. So our GDP started to contract. There has not been any significant growth in the Liberian economy since Ebola, and all the other problems associated with the lack of development in terms of the youth unemployment. So when I was here, President Weah talked about a sort of a palabra hot sort of thing with Liberians to talk about the economy. And especially after June 7th, it became urgent with the political instability creeping in, something had to be done. So they proposed this national dialogue. So to propose this national dialogue, they needed to put together a strong secretariat. So once again, UNDP called upon me, and they asked me to be a development consultant to help with the concept document and also to do the framing of the discussions. So that's what happened, and that's how I got involved. and I'm a direct UNDP is going to be paying me for my services. So
Okay.
the purpose of the National Economic Dialogue is to find a stakeholder validated roadmap for economic recovery. The dialogue ended, the National Economic Dialogue ended on Friday, and they came up with some proposals. And these proposals are now being shipped to be put on the website of what Liberians are demanding, among other things, a War and Economic Crimes Commission, for Liberia. They talk about fiscal probity and, all of these other imperatives, good governance and all of that. So
Okay.
I don't have the document with me, but
Yeah.
that's what happened. The National Economic Dialogue is ended. Now we'll look for implementation and a monitoring and evaluation mechanism going forward.
Okay. Tell your friend, Minister Tua, if he can appear on Focus on Liberia, so we can talk about that and other financial issues. But before I bring,
Mr. Tue is not shy. And he has a lot of technical depth. It's not because he's my friend, but because I know that he has a master's degree from George Washington University in economics. He's worked with for the last I've known about 8 years now. Very strategic in some strategic positions with Millennium Challenge Corporation and also with the African Development Bank.
yeah,
He's a young man. He's gained some.
we'll be glad to speak with him on our economic forum we have every Wednesday. But before I bring
Well,
Alex,
I don't know that.
excuse,
Well,
okay. Thank you.
I don't know that. I don't. But I mean, but you can. I mean, I will. I will send his email address to you. You can make a direct thing to him.
Okay, anything you can do to help us will be appreciated. But before I bring Alex into the discussion, let's get into the meat of the issue about this concept of a Monrovia stock exchange. How did that come about and how you intend to carry that out?
Okay, let's first of all look at the basics of what a stock exchange is and what it is not. Okay, a stock exchange is not a complex animal at all. It is a very simple. It's a very simple structure. A stock exchange is a secondary market. A secondary market where people come, either a physical place or on a trading platform, okay, to buy stocks and to sell stocks. The New York Stock Exchange started in New York in 1792 under a buttonwood tree. In 1792, there was no electricity, there was no computer, there was just the will, and America needed someplace. They needed someplace where people who owned shares in stock. There were companies, the different companies that were growing up, and the Industrial Revolution was starting. So they needed a place where they could trade and buy stocks and also raise capital for new companies. So these young men got together under this buttonwood tree near a place which still exists in New York today called Francis Tarbin, and they started a stock exchange. All that is a place where buyers and sellers come to trade stock. The stock exchange is owned by an independent person, and that their job is to basically record the trades, and then they make an income from those trades. Now, there's a stock exchange right here in Sierra Leone. They only have 3 companies listed on that stock exchange, and they trade only once a week on a Monday. So the vision I have for the Liberia Stock Exchange, Monrovia Stock Exchange, is to build capacity to increase financial deepening and improve the financial architecture of the country. So eventually there will be a West African Stock Exchange. Everyone knows that. Eventually there will be a West African monetary unit. Everyone knows that. So the Monrovia Stock Exchange now is going to come and be online, and we're going to build capacity. We're going to try to encourage first of all, Janice, many people may not know, but there are already Liberian companies that are trading stocks on the London Stock Exchange, Orias Mining and Hummingbird, two companies that they are listed on the alternative index market in London. They're trading stocks. And then there are other companies in this country like GVL, like Sim Darby, and of course Sim Darby is leaving, but other multinationals will have a presence here, and Liberians will have an opportunity. Okay, I know people are going to say, well, where's the savings? Okay, where's the income going to come from? But Liberians worldwide, when you start to look at Liberia now in terms of the financial architecture, you have to look global. $459 million a year coming in this economy for in-war remittances. That's a lot. That's a significant amount of money just to keep people alive in terms of sustenance. So if we can get $459 million to come into the country just to pay school fees, to pay people hospital bills, we certainly can get another quantum amount of money into a capital market to grow our economy. Okay. Those are the dreams that I have, and people who are with me have, is to build a capacity to have a small stock exchange with limited frequency of trading, with just a few companies, and we're building capacity. And as the financial architecture of the country, okay, improves with financial deepening, and let me explain what financial inclusion is. Financial inclusion is the percentage of population that use the banks to intermediate financial transactions. Okay. For example, in economics, we have the circular flow. You have the producers, you have the consumers. It is the bank that intermediates the commercial transactions through what? You write a check, you use your Visa, you use your debit card, or in Kenya now, more than 50% of their GDP is transacted over mobile money. That's a digital economy that's moving toward a cashless society. In Liberia, only 7% of the population have bank accounts, and less than 3% of GDP is conducted by check or Visa, MasterCard, or by mobile money. When we talk about financial inclusion, we want to increase the percentage of the population that use the banking system. You want a circular flow with the banks intermediating financial transaction. What that does,
Mr. Jackson, yeah, I want us to just make it kind of short so that we because these are financial things that some of us don't understand. So let me bring in Alex to ask this question.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dennis. Mr. Jackson, thank you for coming to the I think we talked briefly a few years ago, and it's been a pleasure to have you, see you well. Congratulations on your book, and I hope all the best for you and your health and future. Again, one of the questions, my first question would be.
Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Go ahead, keep talking, but give me a second.
Okay.
So Alex, do we necessarily need a software for a stock market or a stock exchange?
Yes, but you wouldn't need any sophisticated software. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. Again, you find a company. For instance, if you had a stock exchange in Liberia, you could have Firestone list on the company. You could have the Lone Star. You could have the banks. All you do is you find out what the price is and what people are willing to purchase that price for, and that would be based solely on what the financial projections are or the financial statement.
Okay.
So you don't need any sophisticated system. Yeah. So Mr. Jackson, you there?
I'm here.
So again, yeah, I wish you all the best. And again, It's very nice to see you well and up and running. Thank you for all your service to Liberia over the years. Uh, we look to people like you for direction. For us who, are younger in the financial and economic world. So again, it's a pleasure for coming and having this discussion. Now, having said that, I have some very tough questions for you. It's not personal, but these are questions that Liberians wanted to know. My first question is, Liberian economy has not been managed very well. As you know, the GDP is it's less than 1%. Banks are failing. We barely manage any bank in Nigeria or the LBI, which is very, in my opinion, have a lot of challenges. If Liberians cannot manage a library, they cannot manage a public, bathroom, how would they be able to manage a stock exchange? Do we have the materials at this time that is capable of trading stocks? You need licenses. There has to be regulations. There has to be education, certification. Do we have the Liberians in Liberia right now that can do these things?
Well, absolutely.
That's my first question.
Oh, absolutely. I can name just at the top of my head of 5 individuals who basically work at senior level positions in the investment banking in the United States. Richard Tauber was the vice president of UBS Securities and Merrill Lynch. I'm looking at my friend Bill Martin, who was also a stockbroker in Madison Tukwa. There are many other Liberians here who have a lot of training in investment banking, and so on and so forth. Right now, it is not about the capacity of Liberians, it's about the willingness and whether we have the will to do it. I understand what you're saying in terms of the corruption and everything, but Nigeria is an extremely corrupt country, and you have a stock exchange existing in Nigeria. You look at Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is just as corrupt or more corrupt than Liberia, and you have a stock exchange there. A stock exchange is a private market, Dennis. It's not a government market. And I understand the regulations that need to, you need to have something like a Securities and Exchange Commission to regulate the stock exchange, to regulate securities, to make sure that securities that are brought to the market are not securities that don't have any value. So there's a whole licensing procedure, Securities and Exchange Commission. Plus, in the United States of America, as Mr. Alex Jones knows, the National Association of Securities Dealers is a self-regulating body that regulates stock brokers and investment brokers and gives them licenses. The Series 7 is not from the government or from the SEC, it's the NASD license. I understand exactly what he's talking about. But now that is the jaundiced and that is the pessimistic view. The optimistic view from my perspective is to look forward. If you look along Tubman Boulevard is being transformed into a modern thoroughfare with a lot of banks, a lot of insurance companies, a lot of automobile dealerships, a lot of eateries. That's the future of Liberia. The jaundiced presence or the compromised presence of Liberia today in no way indicates what the future is going to be. When those men in 1792 came under that buttonwood tree in New York City and decided to form the New York Stock Exchange, there were skeptics just like Mr. Jones and others who believed that a stock exchange could not work because America at that time was still, a developing nation and moving up. So I can say to him, yes, I understand all of your concerns. Those concerns will be addressed by building a financial architecture. Right now, the central bank of Liberia is building capacity for financial inclusion and even for a capital market. According to our laws, the central bank is the one that regulates all investments.
Right.
So Securities and Exchange Commission, like animal, already exists at the central bank. Does it need to be improved? Does it need to be capacitated? Does it need to be independent? Absolutely not. Absolutely yes.
Yeah.
That is the reason why. That is the reason why the Monrovia Stock Exchange, Liberia Stock Exchange, is going to build capacity, and we're big stakeholders in the development of the capital market to address all of the concerns that Mr. Alex Jones has.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, and that's not a concern from Mr. Alex Jones alone. And I will give you an example. But before I get to that, the function of the central bank. We know that recently there was letters from the donors talking about the reserve being used. So how independent is the central bank, as you said, to regulate this investment? And here is one example of those who are skeptical of the Monrovia Stock Exchange. The former Deputy Minister of Finance and Budget and also former Managing Director of Leteco, Mr. Sebastian Moa, wrote on his Facebook saying, according to information, Liberia is about to get pencil and paper stock market. Computers will come later. This was like making fun of it. And another post said, income minus consumption equals saving. If saving is negative, how do we jump to stock market again? We saving the minus. So this is not Alex's opinion. That's a general concern that is even coming from a former Deputy Minister of Finance.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Mr. Moa does not have the financial acumen or the financial training or the financial education to even make any comment on the stock exchange. Mr. Moa is a very good IT individual, which was through the patronage system and through his friendship with Amara Kone, got involved in the fiscal affairs of the country. Mr. Moa cannot tell me which finance course he's ever taken, which investment course he's ever taken, and what he understands about the stock market. So Mr. Moa is speaking strictly out of ignorance. So I mean, I don't give much credence to an uninformed or an ill-informed view of Mr. Moa. Okay, if Mr. Moa operated on a budget shortfall for multiple number of years, Mr. Moa worked at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning that saw the greatest contraction in GDP output in the post-war era. He worked under a Ministry of Finance Development Planning that did not diversify output, that left us with a very narrow-based economy. And he worked in an administration that used the same old model of concession that brought in quote unquote $16 billion, and we are left with the poorest country in the world. So Mr. Moa actually absolutely has no financial acumen, and he doesn't even have the moral imperative to make that statement. So he's making the statement purely out of ignorance.
Okay. Alex.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So, I hope I have the more imperative and the financial, at least some financial expertise to talk about it. But the question here is, I don't think it is my view. I'm a pessimist about the stock market. I studied the stock market. I've been many years. The question here is, regulation has to come from either a body of private Liberian financial experts or from the government. In the case of Liberia, it's coming from the central bank. The central bank has not done a good job in terms of managing the Liberian economy. It's one of the worst managed today in not just the world, but in West Africa, even compared to several. So how, Mr. Jackson, how would this entity that has now the constitutional powers to regulate the market. When you want to make the argument, they don't even know what they're doing. They through the Ministry of Finance called mop-up exercise, when they should have a monetary commission. They should be the one that actually making monetary policy instead of finance ministry. So how would they be able to manage a stock exchange when they're not even doing what they should be doing, which is getting interest rates down, fighting inflation, and creating employment, which are all within their charters. So, Mr. Jackson, please educate me. I'm not opposed to the stock exchange. In fact, I've written about it and I want a stock exchange. But I just want to kind of get your thinking on how is it going to be possible.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much again. Let me just educate you on the current circumstances within Liberian financial architecture, right? You have three parallel financial structures in this country: the Fullers, the Lebanese, and the Indians. They're doing capital formation. All of the investments that are going up on Tottenham Boulevard come from private sources. These private sources raise money. I also told you about Hummingbird, Orius, and other companies that have used Liberian assets to raise money on stock exchanges abroad, okay? What I'm saying to you is you are comparing apples and oranges and you're totally confusing what a stock market is. A stock market is not a government operation. Efficiency in the government in terms of regulating it, yes. But in terms of operational efficiency, the buying and trading of stock is left up to the capacity and ability of those who participate in the stock exchange. The stock exchange, as we envision it, is, as you know, it is the secondary market. People that want to do initial public offering that would like to sell shares to Liberians would do that. And you talked about the fact that there is no income, there is no savings, and there is no investment. Well, that's for Liberians. But you have, like I told you, the parallel financial structure here that's building real estate, that's building, we just have a brand new steel factory here. That money came from someplace. Then you also have quasi money, savings in the bank, which is about 15 to 20% of broad money. So there is some degree of savings in this country. It may not be in the hands of Liberians. And I also told you about the other sources of money that comes in here from the diaspora. Now, if you were to tell me, Alex Jones, that you don't trust the Liberian diaspora to support the development of this country, that they will not, if they can support their family with money for clothing, for uniform, for health, that they cannot support that's not true, because if you look at the development of the western suburbs of this country, from here all the way to Marshall, most of the people who build in those houses don't live in Liberia. The people who live outside of Liberia, most of the investments that are done in the real estate, expanding in terms of the real estate market here, the real estate development here, is not done by money that comes from here. Even in the importation of trade finance, the banks here are only able to finance only 26% of the imports. Most of the monies that are used to finance imports come from Cyprus, they come from Peru, they come from other places. What we are talking about is integrating the Liberian financial architecture into the global financial market. A lot of the money that comes into the Shanghai Stock Exchange doesn't come from the citizens of China. It comes from abroad, foreign direct investments. Most of the money that goes into Cyprus, most of the money that goes into other places that come from outside. So we are talking about building capacity. And yes, you will have an issue with the fact that you have a corrupt environment, but you need to improve the regulatory environment. You need to improve the business environment. So all that. So you are envisioning a New York style a trading platform or a NASDAQ style trading platform. I'm looking at a basic manual system to build capacity, to bring young university graduates into the Monrovia or Liberia Stock Exchange, to give them some training, to have some sort of an institute that we can teach financial architecture, we can teach trades or trade finance, we can teach people how to write prospectuses, we can teach people financial analysis in terms of NPVs and internal rates of return. We can show people project finance. We are building that capacity. That's what we intend to do.
Mr. Jackson, one criticism I heard about your proposed Monrovia Stock Exchange is you once serve very strategic position where you could have advised on those kind of things like the Monrovia Stock Exchange. So even though it's never too late, but why now? Why? I mean, you had the ear of the president, of both presidents. Why you didn't do something like that till now?
Yeah, but you see, Dennis, you keep going to the government. This is not a government initiative. This has nothing to do with the government. This is a private initiative. This is an initiative whose time has just come with the expansion of Liberia into the global financial system. Before, Liberia was insular. So yes, it should have been done a long time ago. But I'm telling you, we are just now building the capacity because we have people on the ground here and Liberians abroad, including my nephew, Christopher Zendia Jr., who is a senior vice president at JP Morgan Chase. I have other Liberians, like Elias Tilibi's son, who works, So if we can put all these hands together and we can come into this small system and we can build that, I'm telling you, the Sierra Leone Stock Exchange has been operational for 9 years. They only have 3 companies. I guarantee you, when the Monrovia Stock Exchange starts, it will have more companies than the Sierra Leone Stock Exchange because I think we are a better country. I think we have a better capacity. We can beat the Sierra Leone Stock Exchange in no time at all by attracting strong companies with strong backgrounds to list their shares in the Monrovia Stock Exchange.
So, Mr. Jackson, I have a quick question here. Is the stock exchange a personal endeavor of yours or personal passion? Or do you really believe that if Liberia had a stock exchange, it would grow, it would improve our economic system?
Okay.
Or it's just one of those things you feel strongly about?
Okay, thank you very much. Everything in life is based upon personal passion. If you don't have any passion, you can't have any success. So yes, I'm not going to denigrate my personal passion. I have a lot of passion for that. I love finance. I love economics. And thank God, those are the prerequisites to be successful. I'm not just the only one who has that passion. Since I made that announcement, dozens of people, you call me to come and discuss it. So you are very interested in how this thing goes. The fact that I'm on this platform has engendered interest, has engendered some degree of passion. So I make no excuses for having my passion, okay? But that passion must be married with some sort of financial acumen. And I was the second vice president of a bank in the United States. And I worked for a major investment company in Southern Africa. And I've been a minister in Liberia. And I'm a global development consultant. So I have the background. And I have the CV. So there's nothing you can say about me to say this man is not qualified to even start thinking about a stock exchange. The question of passion. But it's not just about me. It's about building an organization. It's about expanding opportunities. It's about giving other Liberians, young Liberians, an opportunity to understand what a capital market is. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Jones. If I'm dead 10 or 15 years from now, and I just basically started a stock exchange that we have only 3 companies listed on that stock exchange, and we were doing manual paper trading, wouldn't that be a part of in my obituary that I was the one that started the Monrovia Stock Exchange, when 20, 30, and 40 years ago, 40 years later, there is a veritable Monrovia Stock Exchange, wouldn't I be known for somebody who started that? And let me tell you what we've done. We've already,
and
ladies and
Mr. Jackson,
gentlemen,
let me
if I
finish.
could,
We've already copyrighted and registered the Monrovia Stock Exchange and the Liberian Stock Exchange. So somebody, even if we don't do it now, if you want to do a Monrovia Stock Exchange, a Liberian Stock Exchange, you have to buy that name from me. Already, we own that name. So that is progress.
but Mr. Jackson, you asked a question, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. And that's the problem I have with Liberian politicians. I'm not accusing you of Liberian of being a politician.
Hold on, Alex. Alex, hold on. Let me bring in our viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Our guest tonight is Mr. Samuel P. Jackson. We are discussing the proposed Monrovia/Liberia Stock Exchange. He's our guest, and along is my co-host, Mr. Alex June. Alex June is currently going through the interview process of becoming the business and financial editor for Focus on Liberia. So if you want to join the discussion, we don't have much time now. Please call 978-726-6965. Alex.
Okay, so Mr. Jackson, here's the problem I have with most Liberians. One is most Liberians have fine degrees from Western universities. And you mentioned people like Richard Tauber, and I'm sure Samuel Tuer, and the rest of us. We all have fine degrees.
I never mentioned Samuel Tuer within the context of the stock exchange, sir.
No. I was saying, just generally speaking, Liberians who have fine degrees from Western University. You can go back to Ellie Johnson Salif, even George Weah. They all have fine degrees. Chris Stowe, including you. But when you look at the degree, it does not merit the outcome or the past few years in Liberia. So when people talk about degrees in whether it's running a stock exchange, becoming a minister of finance, or central bank governor, if degrees could have grown our economy or could have gotten Liberia developed, Liberia would be more developed than any African countries. So I don't put much credence. I respect you because I listen to some of the things you've said. You're very engaging. You're very passionate. You're a fighter, and you have practical experience. But I can care less about anybody's degree. Most of these people have.
Okay, Alex. Let me stop you there. I never mentioned anybody's degree. I never did that. I basically said that there are Liberians who have practical experience working in investment banking in the United States and other parts of the world. I never mentioned the fact that Richard went to Harvard, he went to Columbia and Yale. I never mentioned none of their degrees. I was simply saying to you, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I was simply saying to you that there are Liberians on the ground here who have worked in investment banking in the United States of America. That's what I said. I never mentioned their degrees.
Okay. Let me bring in a caller.
I'm not one who is very passionate about people having a whole bunch of degrees, because I'm from New York City, and in New York City, guys like us that went to Pace University and CUNY City University in New York, we do a lot better than a lot of Harvard graduates because we have practical experience in the streets. Most stock brokers in New York are not people from Harvard. Those are guys that went to basically state schools. So I'm not impressed.
And some never even graduated from, just got a GED, and they make millions of dollars trading stock. But I mean, Liberians are fascinated that because the names in Liberia right now, we have a lot of people and the country is not performing economically. This is not to say that having a stock exchange is a bad thing. I totally support it. My only question would be that I think you have to work with a lot of people, including the government. It has to be a government-supported initiative as well as a private initiative. If you look at the Rwandan Stock Exchange, you look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, South African Stock Exchange, they all have either capital or some form of support. So I think the government has to be involved in it. And the private sector, the business school of Liberia, University of Liberia, they have to be involved. the forum. But I think most times people do not involve anyone who's once they're not a partisan, and that is my criticism with the Ellie Johnson or the George Weah administration. If you didn't support them or you're not a member of their party, they don't tend to regard your opinion or your suggestion. And I think it's a very, very bad precedent. When you talk about stock exchange, you're talking about technical expertise. Expertise comes from trading. Expertise comes from evaluating companies, analytical skills. You can graduate from all you want. Analyzing a company is something that you have to learn or you have been doing. Like you said, you have a Series 7, 63. A college degree cannot give you a Series 7 or 63, as you may very well know. So what are you doing to bring a lot of people on board? And my second question is, do you have the support of this government, including the president, the central bank governor, and the finance minister, to bring Liberians, regardless of party, around the table so they can strategize and make this a success? What are you doing?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. The central bank has a capital markets strategic plan that talks about financial inclusion and developing the capital market. As you know, one of the things that will have to happen for Liberia to be integrated into the global financial system is to have a sovereign credit rating. There are 3 global companies that do credit ratings. You have Fitch, Standard & Poor's, and Moody's. Liberia does not have a sovereign credit rating. One of the things that international companies are coming to Liberia now, Luita from Kenya and South Africa, they're here. They've already signed a deal with LBDI. I know you're going to be shocked to hear this, but they were going to be helping LBDI to do all the investments to get an income stream from trading in the capital market, right? So a Liberian stock exchange with the kind of CV that I'm talking about, we will help Liberia to get an international credit rating. Because once Liberia gets an international credit rating, right, no matter how bad that is, it gives us an opportunity to find out what the deficiencies are. And just like if you know what the FICO score is, if you know what the FICO score is, then and you know what needs to be done to improve your FICO score, then you go ahead and do those things to improve your FICO score. Am I correct?
You are correct.
But I disagree that Liberia needs. I disagree.
The question is more about the support of the government.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, Liberia already has a financial inclusion plan and a policy to develop a capital market. There's a capital market division at the central bank now. And also, let me finish. I think
I get your point. I want to bring in a comment.
But your listeners need to know that Liberia is already trading T-bills and T-bonds. T-bills and T-bonds are already traded by the central bank.
Okay.
It's already been done here. And this is not the first time we're talking about stocks in this country. Cellcom sold stocks here a few years ago. You remember that?
Yeah, but it has not generated any wealth for Liberians. It has not grown the economy. It has not brought employment. So I agree with it. Maybe it has to be done differently. And the fact that Liberia has a foreign bond rating does not change anything, in my opinion. Liberia,
it does. No. It does.
But Liberia, the stock exchange. But let me finish. Let me finish my question.
Listen, if you know a lot about capital markets, the first thing people look at is the sovereign credit rating of the country. That's the first thing to look at in terms of people who want to do foreign direct investments. You look at the credit.
But the stock exchange you're proposing is for Liberian companies to be listed. It's for Liberians to purchase shares in the company. Okay. It's not about foreign companies. JP Morgan or Bank of America is not going to go to South Africa, Sierra Leone Stock Exchange to buy stock to put in a retirement fund. This is something for Liberians. So we don't need a foreign bond rating.
Alex,
hold on.
Alex,
Hold on.
no. This is important for Alex to hear this. How can you say the Liberian Stock Exchange is just for Liberians? Who told you that?
I didn't say it's just for Liberian.
But that's what you're trying to say.
Okay, but hey, listen to me. What I'm trying to say. Yeah, my point. Then you can argue against it. First of all, I support the Liberian Stock Exchange. So let's get that very clear. Okay, I support you. I think you're a well-capable person. I have a lot of respect for you. You know a lot of things you talk, and I hope you show the same kind of mutual respect, because I'm not somebody who just graduated yesterday. What I'm saying is this: your proposal to start a Liberian Stock Exchange, the idea is for Liberians to build wealth. Now, so some company, Metal Steel or any other company or any other investor in a advanced country can come and control all the shares, and Liberians remain poor. I hope that's what you're trying to do, is for Liberians to benefit from the economy. If that's the case, then we don't need, like you said, we have a lot of deposits. All the banks in Liberia they have the reserve requirements. All right, they can use their savings. People have money in a bank account. So the essence is for Liberians to build wealth, for Liberians to own a country, not for some hedge fund George Soros or some British to come in Liberia, control the stock exchange, and get us back to poverty. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm supporting it on the condition that it supports Liberians.
Thank you, Alex. I want to bring in callers and then read a few comments from Facebook. So let me get our first caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
My name is George Gonpo, and I'm calling to participate.
Dr. Gompu, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
Thank you. I want to thank Sam for presenting his very highly ambitious idea. Clearly, we all want to see a Liberia where we can be developed to be just as competitive as any other developed financial market in the world. I think the country has the potential to be competitive. But first, I want to find out what is the timeline on this idea that Sam has proposed in terms of rollout. Whether this is a stock market that will be rolled out 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, I think that should be taken into consideration. Because clearly the idea of a financial market, especially capital market, stock market, this idea should be clearly explained to Liberians. Because when you're talking about buying stocks, you buy equity in these companies. And that, while it has profit opportunities, it also comes with risk, in the sense that if the company shuts down due to business failures, you lose the money put into that company, because once you hold shares in that company, you buy stock in that company, you are an owner of that company. So you share in the profit as well as the losses. So I think those should be clearly explained to people, so they can't believe that once you put in money in the stock market, you will always expect to make money. Additionally, I think there's also a need to hear whether Mr. Jackson can, on behalf of the Monrovia Stock Exchange, who is being proposed, can give some guarantees that this organization or this exchange will not impose any additional financial burden on government. Because as he makes the presentation, as beautiful as it sounds, at some point he's talking about an institute that will be training young Liberians. And at the same time, he's talking about a place where trading is going to be occurring. So I would like to hear some guarantees that this is going to be a totally private institution from beginning to end. And all the government is going to do is to be responsible for regulation. Because I'm aware that there are so many organization that was supposed to have been private that developed in Liberia, and eventually they made their way onto the government budget.
Okay.
And some of the challenges that government has today is because you have so many would-be private organizations that came in, and because they are serving the society and they provide some services, they found a way to either get loans from government or to get government funding, and then they made their way onto the government budget and they never left. So it would be very helpful to get some of those guarantees as we move forward. Secondly, another point I'd like to make.
Okay.
Is the issue of the how attractive is this going to be? Say, for example, I'm sitting today as CEO of ArcelorMittal. Companies list in stock markets in order to raise money, to raise capital. They don't just go to stock markets because they want to be there. There's a Nigerian company, an IT company that recently listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They didn't list in the Federal market. They didn't list in the Ghanaian market, but they listed on the New York Stock Exchange because they were looking for a place to raise money. So if I'm a CEO of ArcelorMittal, why would I want to list my company, in the Monrovia Stock Exchange today? And that's why the issue of timing is critical. And finally, how much initial capital is estimated here to start this stock exchange, and how much do you, the founders, bring to the table?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gompo. You can get your answer off the air.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I answer?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First of all, let it be made very clear that there's some confusion leading in with Dr. Gompo's questions and a statement. Okay. First of all, a stock market is not just a place to go and raise money. A stock market is a place to exchange stocks. It's a secondary market. There are two kinds of transactions that happen in a stock market. One, when a guy does what we call an IPO, which is an initial public offering. But even in that initial public offering, most of the subscriptions come from existing people like investment banks. So when you go to a stock market, the reason why you take it to a stock market is because it's an opportunity to increase the share value and move the market, the market price of the shares up. That's why you go to a stock market. So let's just get that very clear. Okay. Now, he's talking about my personal capital. My personal capital is not being risked in the stock market here. What is being put together here is the expertise of people that are coming together to give you a platform, to give you an opportunity to trade your shares. And this is not an effort like Mr. Jones been talking about at Liberianization. There is nothing in my mind that talks about increasing Liberian wealth. What we're trying to do is to increase Liberian capacity for a domestic capital market. And a domestic capital market will attract a lot of foreign capital if it's done properly. So what is in the interest of ArcelorMittal to list their shares on the Monrovia Stock Exchange? What it does, it gives Liberians an opportunity to have equity in ArcelorMittal, and they can ride the growth curve of ArcelorMittal. That's what I'm talking about. So, I don't know what visions people have about this stock exchange, but this is not a social club. I just want to be very clear about that. This is not about righting all the historical economic wrongs in the past. This is nothing about that. This is not about giving people a new lease on life. This is nothing about that. This is nothing about those social obligations or social responsibilities of government. This is strictly a private affair that will create an opportunity to have a platform to exchange shares, buy shares. Yes, there will be initial public offering for new Liberian companies or companies from anywhere in part of the world that want to come and list their shares on the Monrovia Stock Exchange, or they want to trade their shares like Oreos or like Hummingbird. They already have shares listed. And if they want to join, they make a decision to join. And all they do is to make their shares available for people who want to purchase shares through the Monrovia Stock Exchange. It is a conduit. It is not a capital granting mechanism. It is not a capital expanding mechanism. It's simply a conduit to trade shares, as Mr. Alex Jones already knows.
Mr. Jackson, he also asked about the timeline.
Well, the timeline is immediate. The timeline is immediate. And I don't know if it was a sarcasm embedded in that, because I'm not a stupid individual, because I saw Alex Jones smirking when Dr. Gumpu. I'm not stupid. Let me tell you, I'm not stupid. Okay,
Mr. Jackson. I don't think.
Let me finish. When you put a smirk on your face because he's talking about 30 or 40 years, I don't have 30 or 40 years to live. Okay? You know, let me tell you something.
Mr. Jackson, I don't think that was the intention.
I don't think that's the intention.
It was the intention, because there was a smirk on his face, and Mr. Gumpu was talking about 30 or 40 years. I know both of these guys, okay? And I understand how people's medulla oblongata runs. So when he said 30 to 40 years, I saw this smirk coming from Alex Jones's face. I found that very offensive. Very offensive. Okay?
Mr. Jones, I don't want you to read too much into body language, but we have a caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Yes, this is George Toto. I'm calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Chairman Toto, your question or comment?
Yeah, it is a question to the other gentleman, Mr. Johnson.
To Mr. Jones.
Yeah, Mr. Jones. Okay, I carefully listened to Mr. Jones, and then you were talking about the stock exchange. They're not going to make any big major difference in the Liberian economy, looking at the unemployment rate and other things. But my question to you about the role of the stock exchange, especially some of the companies like in Liberia, like for example, the medicine, they are listed on international stock exchange. And they're coming into the financial market of Liberia. Don't you think the president of the company would remove the Liberia capital market, and where people may want to invest in some of those companies by buying shares?
Mr. Jones.
Well, thank you for your question. And Mr. Jackson, again, like I said, are you there, Mr. Jackson?
I'm listening.
Mr. Jackson,
I'm also watching.
I looked at you, Mr. Jackson. Let's get it very, very clear, okay? I'm a big fan of yours. I was one of the ones who convinced Mr. Dennis for us to have this conversation. I'm a stock guy, okay? I work in regulation. I traded a stock for many, many years. How would I be against it, okay? I support you. I support a stock exchange in Liberia. The only thing I'm trying to say here is that, and I will get to the gentleman's question, is that if we want to do a stock exchange, we have to do it together. Liberians have this attitude that it's my thing, it's your thing, okay? You're a fine financial analyst, one of the most experienced financial. You've been what? Minister of State for Economic Affairs. You've held every position. I haven't held one Liberian position or one government position in my life, and I'm doing fine. So I respect you. I do not ridicule you. I think you're doing a good service to our country, and don't take it to be. Dr. Gumpu and I are colleagues, and we argue all the time on economics and on finance. So don't think there's any conspiracy here against you. And in fact, you're welcome to join our show on Wednesday to talk about how we can build our capacity, how we can bring jobs and develop our country. It's all our country. Okay, so back to the question of the gentleman. I think the question Dr. Gumpu was trying to ask is to say, we live in a free market, a very competitive market. In economics, there's no free lunch. No company CEO or chief financial officer is just going to list on a stock exchange just for the formality of that. They're going to do it for money. They're going to do it to raise money. So if we're going to open a stock exchange, we're going to have to make it very competitive. It's going to be it has to be very, very well capitalized and very credible. It's not going to be credible when you have figures who are going to be contributing to the stock exchange that are questionable. If I'm an advisor and I want to invest in a country stock exchange, whether it's Rwanda stock exchange or a Sierra Leone stock exchange, I'm going to do analysis. I'm going to find not just if the government is corrupt or not, but does these people have proper regulations? You mentioned about the broker's dealer, which is now FINRA. Okay. The reason the FINRA is there is to make sure that there's credibility, to make sure that everybody who's involved with it are licensed. They are not criminals. You can't hold a CV6 or CV63 or 7 if you commit a felony. Okay? You can't go ahead and buy a stock for someone if you don't know what a difference between a stock, a bond, or derivative. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to work together to build Liberia. All our people have to come together, sit down, and talk about these things. But it seems to be once somebody is against, make an analogy about something that is not favorable to one group or one political, to hell with Liberian politics. I'm not a politician, you know that. I don't care about politics. To me, the scum of the earth. Not American politicians, not British politicians, not Liberian politicians. What I do care about is how we can help our people, how we can get this stock exchange that you so passionate about working so that ArcelorMittal and Firestone can list on it. And the way I think you do that to answer the gentleman's question is you bring Liberians together. You call people like Dr. Gumpo. You call people like me. You call people like the other lots of Liberians. Let's sit down together. Let's see how we can capitalize this. Let's see how we can make it better. Not you against me. And so, you know, I hope I answers the man's question, but I like I said, I look at you like a big brother in finance, and I have the utmost respect for you. You called me one time when I wrote a paper on LBDR, and I appreciated it. LBDR has yet to even do a regular financial statement. Okay, a lot of Liberians could be investing in LBDR. LBDR could carry. It's an investment bank. It's a development investment bank. They should be carrying on the reconstruction. They should be funding hotels and funding rubber plantations in Liberia. We don't need to wait for a stock exchange to do that. But if we do have a stock exchange, it will be a good thing. But when I make my criticism, I don't care about whether or not this person like me or that politician like me or this president likes me. I just want to see the country do well. And we all should come together and talk about it. And again, it's a good thing that we're talking about it tonight, sir. I respect you a whole lot. And I just hope that you have the same respect to me as a man and as a, you know, show the same professional courtesy that I show to you and every other person. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you did confirm the fact that you and Gumpo have some kind of relationship. So the smirk that came there was no, I'm just joking. You know, okay, look, let's get serious here, guys. The stock exchange is not Sam Jackson. Don't make it like a reflection of my personality. It's not, it's none of that. When I decided to do this, I was very open about it. I put a call in the Costa show for professionals to send me their contact information. I don't know if you remember that, Alex. I did that. I'm a very open person. And if you know me now, you know I have very little secrets. Even my own health, you saw me how bad my health was, and you saw the recovery I've been making. You see my children. You see my inside children. You see my outside children. I'm not somebody who is a fake or a fraud. My wife would tell you she doesn't know anybody on the planet as honest and straightforward as I am, and that's why she married me. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I don't make up things. With me, what you see is what you get. This is not a Sam Jackson initiative. This is a Liberian initiative. The character and form of the Monrovia or Liberian Stock Exchange will not be determined by me. It will be determined by us. Okay, so when we've incorporated, that's the first step. The next thing is to do an organization. Then the next thing is to put together our strategic plan in terms of how we go about attracting resources, and with human capital into that. So everybody is welcome. This is not just a one-person affair. The Monrovia Stock Exchange, Liberia Stock Exchange Corporation will itself need capital. It would need operational capital. It would need all kinds of different, it would need human capacity. So everybody is invited to participate. So we can have a very, very narrow learning curve and not a deep learning curve. And there will be a limited amount of learning curve because most of us who are now committed to this process, we've already been there and done that. So I expect Dr. Gompu, I expect you, Alex Jones, I expect other Liberians to be contacting me when we have hopefully we have our first meeting next week. The reason why we haven't had our meeting yet is because I've been extremely busy with this national economic dialogue. I put my life on hold for it. My daughter's getting married next month. I should have been there with her, but but because of my national call to duty, I've been here, and I intend to go back to the States in the next couple of weeks and marry my daughter off, and then start the process, all of us, to start doing something about making this stock exchange a reality. And I look forward to your input, the input of Dennis Jha, the input of Dr. Gompu. But one thing I don't want us to, the thing is this is a political,
Right.
this is a political organization with any kind of political objectives. Because I'm about making money. I've made money most of my life. Alex, if you know about me, you know I'm a politician with a sharp mouth, but who's a very strong capitalist.
And maybe that's one of the reasons. But I want to get some comments on Facebook. But the question I will ask before the comment is, who else is with you in this stock exchange business?
Okay, great. I have Bill Martin, who was an investment banker in the States, and also I have my lawyer, Counselor Gould, undergraduate in economics, which is the commercial lawyer here. That is the base of it, and we have other people, many people, dozens of people have already expressed their interest in it, and I hope that Mr. Alex Jones and others will come, and we can increase the capacity and expand the people with strong CVs into this, so we can make it work. This is not a Sam Jackson initiative. This is a Liberian initiative, and I look forward to all of you coming on board to see how we can make it work, to give it some direction, to give it some form, and give it some character.
And some of the comments on Facebook, one comment said that it appeared that you were attacking Mr. Moore personally instead of dealing with the issue. Another comment, they saw when you got so passionate, they thought you were getting angry. So the comment is, why is he getting angry? Another comment says that, and I read them before, that's why I'm not able to go to the exact reading now. Another comment said that a surprise why there are not hundreds and hundreds of people watching the show, because stock exchange is very important, and the contributor said he or she made money, trading stock. So, and then Montauk telling Heron said, but you have to keep your personal out of this. And me, Jackson is right in his assessment, because many people just so damn ignorant and jump to insult him. So these are some comments on Facebook that I thought I could read.
Well, thank you very much. And Alex and Dennis, if you know me, I live in an iron suit, cat calls and sauce. I mean, they never dreamed I was going to be somebody who contributed to the Sustainable Development Goals. I was a co-lead writer. They didn't believe we're going to have a successful economic dialogue. Some people were talking about boycotting it, but we still went ahead. We had that. Been there, done that, and I'm moving forward. the proposals for Liberian economic recovery is embedded in the consensus document. I cannot take gun and put it to people's hands for them to implement. I always say, I like the consultative process. I give you my ideas, I give you my best, and then it's left up to people to implement. I'm not a politician in terms of somebody who makes decisions. I'm a political activist. So activists demand changes and make proposals. The government of Liberia cannot function without a consultative process in the deliberative body. That deliberative body is our national legislature. And if our national legislature is supposed to make laws, they're supposed to set up implementation modules. They haven't done that effectively since 1847. And that's the problem we have. Because, Eric, there is no idea that has not been proposed for Liberia's development. The problem, as you know, Alex, is implementation.
Right.
And the implementation, because there's no political will.
And that's where the skepticism is coming from, Mr. Jackson, so you should understand.
Yes, I understand. Look, I've been here for 4 months.
Okay.
I've done 4 major studies. And if you send me an email, I will send you one of my studies on the monetary aggregate, why we have such huge amount of Liberian dollars outside of the banking system. I follow many things. I wrote a 43-page report, my colleague and I. We've given that to the government of Liberia since July. I've also written many aid memoirs, okay? And in this national economic dialogue, okay, there was a 7-page document that was given to the government of Liberia. The people say. So what I'm saying to you is that I have done everything I can do. I can't force people to. I can take you to water, but I can't make you drink the water. So what I say, well, you know, you've been working for government for so many years. Look, Alex, if you know me, you know I'm very progressive when it comes to development. My proposal to Eli Salif: don't give her your iron ore resources, securitize them, put them in a national iron ore company. In 2007, when the price of iron ore was hitting $200 a ton, we could have put the 10 billion tons without Wologisi into a national iron ore company. We could have raised billions of dollars from there.
Absolutely.
They took our iron ore resources and they resold it. Like Elenito, for example, you know, I fought against Elenito. Elenito was a scrap company. They came and got the iron ore resource. They were not even registered when the RFP, the request for proposal, came out.
Okay.
They went
Mr. Johnson?
and through corruption, they got the Western cluster and they sold the Western cluster for $120 million without putting the shovel in the ground. You know, Orento, with our oil resources, Orento was a zero company. The first check that they gave to the National Oil Company to buy the data, that check bounced. But they sold blocks 11, 12, and 14 to Chevron for over $200 million. I know also Orioles with Putu Mountain. They sold it to Seven Star for almost $150 million. So people have been securitizing our national asset and making money out of it, right? One of the things that we could do in the Monrovia Stock Exchange is to go and to form a national iron ore company, ask the government of Liberia for some exploration rights, securitize those, and take it to the stock market exactly as Orioles and other guys do. Hummingbird is taking our gold resources, securitizing them, put them in the alternative index market. These are things that those are the visions I have. Since I came out of school.
Thank you. Let me bring in our last caller, and then I will bring in Alex, and then we almost out of time. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Rose Joy Carmore. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent. How are you? Welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
It's not a question, but I just want to say something to Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, I thank you for all your accomplishment in Liberia. But I want to say this. I think Alex kind of said something about it too. we have so many people in our country that have came to so many renowned schools in the U.S. and all around the world. They have seen so many things. They have handed us so many money in Liberia, but yet and still we are so backwards. We have come to a place that the Liberian people do not have jobs, and before you buy stocks and bonds, I think you're supposed to have money. You're supposed to be able to earn a paycheck and you be able to invest in those things. You're not looking for foreign government or foreign country or people from foreign country to come and buy stocks and bonds. You're looking for the people that live in the country that will be able to buy stocks and bonds. So my thing is to Liberian people, I hope, a lot of people are hearing what you guys are discussing. We need to start discovering or bringing companies into Liberia. We need to start looking around and bringing people, Liberians, to invest in the country and open companies to give jobs to the Liberian people. Because I figure if the Liberian people have money, your passion for stock and bonds can grow. Tomorrow you can be very successful because the people of Liberia got employed and now they want to make the money more to what they earn, and they decide to invest in your passion or your group, whatever your group wants to do, and it kind of like grows and be successful. So I want the people of Liberia, the ones that have money, the ones that came to the U.S., to Europe, everywhere around the world, they need to find companies to come into the country. Do something, make something. Let it be about making something, not just getting everything from other people, And I hope all the big guys and very educated guys that are listening to this, because you can be so educated and you can be a part of the economy. You can give employment. You can, do nothing for the people, but you have so many degrees to show and to talk about. It don't make nothing. It don't make the country. So I just, Mr. Jackson, I hope, you are older now, and I hope the next generation hear you and will be able to come into Liberia and create big companies so we can invest into your stocks and bonds. So have a good night, and it's a good show.
Thank you. And Alex, did I see any smack on your face? That's a joke.
Yeah, that was a big smack on my face.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson. And after Mr. Jackson, Alex, you ask your question, and then we go back to.
Well, no, I think Mr. Jackson have done a great job to come. He's a very tough guy, and I like that. And he's very smart. And like we said, we hope other Liberian smart people and passionate finance and economists will come on to have a discussion. Because if you have a degree and you can defend it in a public square, you have nothing. So I want to commend, I don't know how to call him a minister or former minister or whatever it is, but know that I'm with you. My prayers are with you. I will send you my contacts, and we're here for you. We want to make our country better, and I hope the people will hear you and you will use your influence to spread a message that we shouldn't be against each other. It's not this person against the other person, this party. We all want to make money. I'm a Wall Street guy. I want to make money, and Liberians want to make money too. And so you have a great idea. Or I'm saying, reach out to us. I was very disappointed when they had an economic forum, and there was not much effort made to talk to many Liberians who have engaged in Liberian economics. And we can't keep bringing the same people all the time back. We have to bring new people in. We have to collaborate. And you have an open invitation anytime to come on our show, or let's do a show together, as a matter of fact, to make our country better. And I really respect you. And I hope the minister is listening, and I hope he comes on. Because if you can talk to a foreign press, if you can go on CNBC and you can go on Bloomberg, all right, and you can't come to your own Liberian, media that are trying to discuss ideas and trying to develop the country, then what kind of patriot are you? So I respect you, Mr. Jackson, and God bless you. And again, come anytime, call me. I will give you my number. As we talked before, so thank you again. I really appreciate this audience.
All right. Let me have the last caller, and then Mr. Jackson, you can come in with your final thoughts, and we can end the broadcast. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
This is George Gonpo.
Oh, Dr. Gompo, you again. All right. Your question or comment, and please be brief. 30 seconds.
Okay. Sam.
Go ahead, sir.
My name is George Gonpo.
Dr. Gompo, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to thank Sam again for making the time to come on, focus on Liberia, and that we should continue these kinds of discussions. I just also want to recommend to him that in building something new, you have to be prepared to take the heat in terms of people asking critical questions, and do not see critical questions as personal attacks. Because if this is something that's intended for the improvement of the country and for the future of the country, and it is new, there will be a lot of questions to be asked. So you were not clear on the timeline issue, and I asked the timeline issue because I think clearly you can start a stock market anywhere, anytime. But how successful and how effective will it be? Mm-hmm. That is important. So the financial market, as you know, especially when it comes to things like stock trading and what have you, and selling, transparency is really important. Reporting requirements for those companies that people will be buying the stock market in terms of regular, frequent reporting is important. And this is related to the issue of rule of law and the issue of transparency. So the environment we're in now, are you confident that companies in Liberia will be able to adhere to reporting requirements that will be consistent and that will be competitive with other reporting in other places, so that people can see that our companies in Liberia are transparent, for people to be able to be comfortable in buying their shares.
Thank you, Dr.
You are correct. You are correct when you talk about the stock exchange being mainly secondary market. But even when you're buying shares in secondary market, you're also concerned about the companies you're buying. So the reputation of the company is connected to the issue of transparency. So given the environment we have now, are you confident that we have adequate transparency, that investors will be willing and free to invest in Liberian companies at this time?
Thank you, Dr. Gompo, and you can take your answer of it. Thank you so much for your contribution. Mr. Jackson, you can answer that question and give us your final thoughts as we prepare to close the broadcast.
Okay, I knew Dr. Gompo was going to come back to feedback. So
why you didn't tell me?
Yeah. Okay. Listen. I never met him, but my very good friend Richard Talbot, when he was at UBS, and he told me there was a Liberian economist teaching at some university. So I know he and Richard are very, very close. I've never met him. So when I was working with IDS at that particular time, there was like in the 90s, okay? I was working with IDS, American Express, and Richard was with UBS at that time. He came from Merrill, and he told me that was this young Liberian, so that's how come I knew. And when Dr. Gompo, he came to Liberia, and he worked here with the Ellen Sirleaf administration. I don't know what became of that, or what kind of policies that he was able to implement, and what kind of footprint he left. But that's up to him to tell us and for others to judge. So he's already been.
And why is that important, Mr. Jackson?
No, because I want people to know that Mr. Gompo has been a part of the government here before.
Okay.
So this is not a spring chicken. He's been here before and he's participated in the process.
Right.
So I don't want people for him to portray himself as some sort of a new guy with some brand new ideas coming up that we've never heard. He had an opportunity. He served with Sebastian Moore and he served with Amrak Kone in the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. And I'm sure you will have the opportunity to
Mr. Jackson, with all due respect, you are deflecting these things.
No, I'm not deflecting. But I think it's important.
The issue of transparency and the rule of law, those are very.
No, but can I give the public information that they don't have? So you see, when you ask a question and you come on a show, people like my whole background is open. Right? Everybody knows where I've worked, who I am, and all that stuff. So Dr. Gompo came and he's making some contribution. I think people need to know who this guy is and where he comes from. Okay, that's transparency. Okay, so and you don't need to do a pushback for him. He can speak for himself. So let me just go ahead and let me come to you all on the origin of this. This is nothing from my head. About 3 weeks ago, Alex, I was trying to sell my book. Yeah, this is my book here. This is a Rich Land, Poor Country. This is my book, and it is on my website. It's going to be on Amazon in about 2 weeks, but it's on my website, www.richlandpoor.com. Yeah, and you can go and Google it, and you can buy it. It's only $29.95 plus $6 shipping. We sold about 2,000 copies already. Just in about 90 days, this is probably the best-selling Liberian book this year. Okay, so I was at the Royal Hotel about 3 weeks ago, and there's a Ghanaian lady was having dinner with a friend of mine, and I was trying to sell her my book, and I came and sat down, and she started to tell me that she came from this major investment banking company that was started in Nairobi, Kenya, and she was working in South Africa, and she was in Liberia to drum up some business. Automatically, the fact that I worked in Southern Africa with an investment bank, I knew that her company was trying to do something with the capital markets in Liberia. So that's when it came back to my head. I said, well, we shouldn't have just foreigners and we're trying to see what they can engineer a capital market. We should do this. And this has been my dream all along, all along. And if you were to Google me somewhere in my past, you will see that I've tried to do this year before, but I've been sick for the last 4 years. You know the nature of my health. So that's how come I accelerated this process and made this clarion call out to people out there to see how we can start the Monrovia Liberian Stock Exchange. Let me give you my vision. And I hope this becomes a concept document for all of us moving forward. Liberia needs to be integrated into the global financial market. We need to have a capital market to raise funds and to empower Liberians, to have Liberia as equity participants in the companies that do business in Liberia. There is no local mechanism for Liberians to buy shares in ArcelorMittal. If you want to buy the shares of ArcelorMittal, you have to go wherever the stock exchange, the London Stock Exchange, where they're listed. If you want to buy shares in African Petroleum, you have to go to the Australian Stock Exchange. If you want to buy shares of Orius Mining, you have to go to the alternative index market. If you want to buy the shares of Hummingbird, you have to go to the London Stock Exchange, the alternate index market. What we are trying to do is for Liberians to have an opportunity to ride the growth curve, of companies that are already using Liberian revenues Liberian resources and Liberian natural assets to get rich. The chevrons of the world that own all blocks in this country. You have no way of buying shares in Chevron or Anadarko or any one of these major companies. And there are a lot of multinational companies in Liberia, Alex, you know that. You know that. So why don't we have a conduit right here in Monrovia, even if it's just a brokerage office, not even a stock exchange, but just a simple brokerage. And I guess exactly that is what this investment company is going to do. Open a brokerage office here in Monrovia, and it will be using capital from Liberians or people who have access to capital here, like the banks, the insurance companies. Look, this is not a poor country. You have the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation that gets the contribution for retirement for Liberian workers. They don't have a conduit to invest in stocks and bonds. What they've been doing direct project investment, like the LRA building, like the Jamali Solutions Clinic, like other direct projects in this country. If you have a Liberian stock exchange, a Monrovia stock exchange, then the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation and other retirement funds. There are a lot of retirement funds in this country, Alex, as you know. Firestone has a retirement fund. ArcelorMittal has a retirement fund. All the major companies here, Club Beer, all these things. Where do they put their retirement money? So you talk to me and you say, well, there's no income. So that's gross, not you, Alex, but that's grossly ignorant to say there's no income and there's no savings when you have retirement accounts in this country, the National Social Security, like the retirement funds of all these major companies. Where do you come from and say you don't have any income and no savings and no investment in Liberia? You have to be pretty backward in your financial acumen to say there is no income. You have to be backwards. So this thing is about educating people, Alex. It's not just about me. What Sam Jackson think he knows everything. That's the way people look. But I do think, and I'm the kid, when you buy me a toy, I take it apart to see how it works. Right? Right. So there is money in this country. Look at the 9 banks. Only one of them is Liberian owned. That's the Liberian Bank for Development and Investment. The rest of them are Nigerians. Access Bank is here. Afriland Bank is here. GT Bank is here.
Mr. Jackson.
Melu is here.
Mr.
All these
Jackson.
banks are here. They're all listed on the Lagos Stock Exchange. Why don't they trade? Because they're growing. EcoBank is here. They're growing and they're making money. Why don't Liberians have the opportunity to go to a local stock exchange here and purchase shares in EcoBank and ride the growth curve
You are right.
using Liberian resources?
You are right.
You have to come back, Mr. Jackson.
Right.
You have to come back. So
definitely. But there is an interjection here from Dr. Gompu. So,
again.
Yeah.
Again, right?
I think we gotta leave it here. Get it. I think we have to leave it here so that
Is this the Dr. George Gompu show?
No, the viewer, he's calling. I'm saying no. The viewers are telling me no. You got to bring Dr. Gompu back. So, Dr. Gompu, I just gave you.
Oh, yeah, you have a lot of fans, huh?
you see, you need to come on the show more often so we can get the stock exchange going.
And Mr. Jackson, we invited you on Wednesday for the economic forum. Dr. Gompu, please be brief, 30 seconds. Dr. Gompu. Dr. Gompu, go ahead.
Yes, Sam, I listened to your comment, and it seemed like there was an implicit attack. Hello.
Oh, come on, man.
Go ahead. And be brief.
Yeah, Sam, I listened to your comment, and I just wanted to make some clarifications You refer to my working with Amara Conan. At the time I was in Liberia, Amara Conan was Minister of Economics and Planning. And I was working directly with Gafon when Gafon was minister. And I'm very proud of my record. I worked at a time as Deputy Minister of Finance and Director of the Budget. And
were you responsible for any one of those budget shortfalls?
No, I wouldn't say that. I was there at a very difficult time, and we took the appropriate step to bring the budget in line with the requirements of the international community. The budget deficit was really controlled at the time. When there was the time of the global financial crisis, we readjusted the budget to make sure that we're spending within our means. And if you check the record, you will see that one of those years that was there, the budget even went into a surplus. Okay. So I'm very proud of my record.
Thank you.
And many of the people I work with can speak to that issue. And because of the kind of work that we did, the whole process of the kind of discipline we had at the Ministry of Finance contributed to the success with respect to the HIPIC arrangement when Liberia was when a significant amount of Liberia's debt was waived. So the record there is very positive.
Thank you, Dr.
That's my knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gompo.
Thank you. And we'll continue this discussion on Wednesday.
Thank you very much.
Great. I'm very proud of you, Dr. Gompo. You did extremely well. No budget deficit during your time.
Maybe that's something too I can learn for. You better call Dr. Gompo.
Mr. Jackson, you have 30 seconds to just give us your final thoughts.
Look, basically, I'm no magician, but I'm passionate about everything I do, and it's not about me, it's about Liberia. I'm pushing 70, okay? In a few years, I'll be 70. I'm not gonna be up for a very long time. It's gonna be left up to you guys. What I've done in the political sphere, I brought you multi-party democracy. All of you young guys today now, living in a country where there was free speech. When I was growing up, there was no free speech, okay? The technology that you have today, I didn't have access to that. But I was able to foment a revolution by just my voice and my writing. That's how we fomented the revolution. Right. That's how we brought you multi-party democracy. If we had Facebook in 1974, I would have been president of Liberia. Okay? Right. I was young, I was vibrant, there was a lot of exuberance, okay? And I had all the adrenaline of an Alex Jones.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I could have parlayed. Imagine in my time, in my youth, if I have Facebook, if I have the Samuel Jackson Intellectual Forum with 300,000 subscribers or members, I would be president of Liberia. So, you know, I appreciate what you all are doing now, but you guys are paddling a canoe that we made. That my generation, that we bequeath to you. We bequeath to you a democracy that is not where it's supposed to be, but that is vibrant, that is moving. Mm-hmm. Right now in Liberia, you don't have any international peacekeepers. I was going to town today. I saw Liberian police officers.
Mr. Jackson, can you wrap up? We're out of time.
This is important.
Yeah, we're out of time.
But we are truly independent now. We don't have foreign peacekeepers here anymore. We are responsible for our own. And we have had 3 democratic elections, 2005, 2011, 2017. And we have the first orderly transition from one political party to another. We're making progress. And I know the limitations of people who run this current government, who are my friends. And Alex, you think the Sam Jackson you know, I argue with Samuel Tola like crazy. I do. I argue with all of them. You think George Weah was scolding me on Friday at the National Economic Dialogue because he said I didn't recognize him as cousin. He had told me, say he was my cousin, you know, when I was running the Total gas station. And why I have to tell people that my auntie told me? So we don't have a smooth relationship because they know who I am. They know that I'm a firebrand politician. They know that I'm a firebrand activist. They don't know where I stand from one issue to another. So there's not 100% trust in me. I'm walking on eggshells when I'm in Liberia, and that's good for me because what it does, it gives me a time to be polite, to be humble, but also to be forthright in what I believe. The last time the president attacked me, when I talk about the truncated financial, parallel financial structures, he went to this thing at, I think it was a SETI opening up. I think you remember that. Okay? He didn't understand what I was saying, and as soon as I mentioned Lebanese and Indians.
Mr. Jackson, please come back on.
Mr.
Wednesday.
Jackson, we want to bring you back on Wednesday.
Wednesday, we're going to do the
flyer.
flyer.
I don't know if I have the time to do it on Wednesday, but
Okay.
I'll check my schedule.
Yes,
Right.
please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we want to really appreciate you for coming. This is just the tip of the iceberg because you have worked for so long and there's so much that you carry. So we want to get more of it. We didn't even talk about your book.
Right. So come back. Let's talk about the book.
We didn't even talk about
the most comprehensive
right
book on the political economy of Liberia ever written by a Liberian.
Right.
Almost 200 pages.
We didn't even get to talk about the cancellation of the 3-day free call that you made a comment about. We didn't have to talk about your statement at the university when you said Liberians are stupid because they don't do X, Y, Z. So there's so much we want to talk to you about. Please come back as soon as you can.
Well, okay, I'll see if it's the same timing but let's talk tomorrow and let me see, okay?
All right. So
Thank
ladies
you
and
very
gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Wednesday, we're going to have the Liberia Business and Economic Forum. We are having this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And Dr. Gumpu and Alex Jones, they are the guests. And eventually, Alex is going to be hosting that show, especially when he got the job of financial and business editor and focus on.
I already got the job.
No, you are still going through interviews.
Really? It's more difficult to get a job there than get a job at the Federal Reserve.
No, it's more difficult to get a job at the Monrovia Stock Exchange.
Oh, no. Sam, I want a job.
I can assure you, we need contributors and we need people who will be equity participants.
Right.
We need the financial resources of Mr. Alex Jones and
Oh,
others.
thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah, to buy equity, to buy stock in the Monrovia Stock Exchange.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you so much. Until next time, we say good night and God bless you.
All right. Take care.
DJ Sweat production classes with let's do this. We don't want no war again.
We want to thank to all our contributors. Thank to all those on Facebook. We're not able to read all your comments, but we say thank you so much for joining us. Wednesday, we're going to have our economic forum. Friday is going to be another political debate, but I'm going to withhold the names. But we're going to have a heated political debate. We have someone from the who was a supporter of the CDC and someone from the opposition. They will be debating on current issues. And then on Sunday, we're going to have our African forum. We have people from other African countries or immigrants that are going to be live. And we're going to talk about how we African immigrants in the States, we can collaborate and impact our communities here in the United States and also back in Liberia and Africa as a whole. Until then, my name is Dennis Jah on behalf of my co-host, my guest co-host, Mr. Alex Jones, my co-host, Danielle Knuckles-guishard, and also my product engineer, Stephanie Setro. We say good night and God bless.